Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Dr. Sarah Roberts, and I'm the professor of saxophone and jazz here at UT Tyler. And really quick, before we go any further, I would like to introduce the band. On keys tonight, we have Mr. George Faber. On bass, Mr. Phil Rumbley. And on drums, Mr. Jeff Shelton. And on that first tune, you heard from my amazing husband, Mr. Micah Bell. So tonight's program is pretty near and dear to my heart, as you probably can imagine. And I titled it Girls Don't Play Jazz with a question mark because that alludes to a lot of the questions that either I get asked or I hear people ask in general. Really? Girls play jazz? Or, oh, I've never met a female saxophone player before. And these are, I think, indicative of the lack of representation that women have and the lack of conversations that we have both in academic settings and non-academic settings for women in jazz. It's really true that since jazz's beginning, women have been an integral part in not only playing the music, writing the music, promoting the music, but quite frequently, the only women that we hear about are the vocalists. So, often, like I said, when I'm performing, I hear, wow, I've never seen a woman playing saxophone, or isn't it really unusual for women to play jazz? But the reality is, these sentiments couldn't be further from the truth, and they're founded on this colloquial narrative that is a product of an environment that's dismissed or omitted many of the contributions to female jazz musicians. But tonight, we're going to celebrate that and hopefully introduce you to some music that you'll continue to listen to. So the first tune that you heard was a pretty fun tune by a young pianist named E.J. Wang. And she's a Korean contemporary jazz pianist who arrived in the US in 2009 to attend Berklee College of Music. Her debut album was released in 2015, and it features all original compositions and her own arrangements. The next piece that we're going to play was written by one of my professors at the University of Michigan, Miss Ellen Rowe. This piece is entitled Home, and I'm pretty sure that she wrote it, although I couldn't find the specifics. I'm pretty sure she wrote this during the pandemic when we were all stuck at home, so aptly titled Home. Miss Rowe is a jazz pianist and a composer, and she's also the Arthur F. Thurnau Professor of Jazz and Contemporary Improvisation at the University of Michigan. She was a huge influence to me, especially when I was going through being the only female classical saxophonist, the only female jazz saxophonist at the University of Michigan at the time, and one of only 3 female jazz musicians in the program. So she was highly influential and opened my eyes to a lot of women who had come before her and been her influences as well. Ellen performs throughout the US and the world, and she's also an active pedagogue. She gives workshops and master classes around the world. She's actually conducted the Texas All-State before, All-State Jazz Group. So she does a lot, so look out for Miss Ellen Rowe. So without further ado, this is Home. female composer and instrumentalist is Alexa Tarantino. And she's a young jazz saxophonist and woodwind artist and composer who's based in New York City. She was recently named one of the top 5 alto saxophonists of 2019 by Jazz Times. She was nominated as a Rising Star by Downbeat Magazine in 2020 and 2021, and the critics, that was part of the critics poll. And she also works for Jazz at Lincoln Center and teaches for their youth program. You can follow her social media. She's super active, always performing. She's been touring a little bit with Jazz at Lincoln Center and Wynton Marsalis. So she is an amazing artist, and I'm really excited to play her next tune. It was part of her 2020 album entitled Clarity, and this tune is entitled Through. All right, so quick show of hands. Has anybody heard any of these tunes? Okay, one person. All right, I love it. So you're hearing new music tonight that maybe you didn't know before. I'm going to lay this knowledge bomb on you. Are you all ready? You all ready? Get excited. This is going to be great. You know, I didn't like history until I didn't have to take history. It's weird how that works, right? All right, so our next female artist is Melba Liston. And she, yeah, that's Jeff, right? Okay, I can't see. Fantastic. All right, so Melba Liston, funny enough, her and I share the same birthday. Now, many years apart. However, she was born on January 13th, 1926. She's an American jazz trombonist and arranger and composer. And, you know, at that time in the early 20s, or, well, she probably didn't play her trombone in 1926. It was probably later, like the 30s, right? But at that time, and by the time we hit World War II, there were actually several all-female big bands that toured the country. You know, when the men went off to fight the war, women held down the fort, and they kept the music going. One of the most famous female groups from that time was the International Sweethearts of Rhythm, and that actually was one of the first big bands to actually be integrated. So leave it to the women to integrate. It's pretty cool. I love that. But during that time, you know, women were pretty much playing in big bands. And so Melba Liston made a name for herself as being an artist that not only played with big bands, but she did some solo work as well. She then became better known in her later years as an arranger. She worked with such artists as Dizzy Gillespie, Billie Holiday, John Coltrane, and Count Basie. So super fun to learn about Melba Liston, born in 1926, and we're gonna play a beautiful ballad of hers that's entitled Just Waiting. And quick shout out, I know I have some family that's listening on the live stream. So Mom, this one's for you. tune. I love it. Are y'all having fun? Yeah! You see, you have to know, I'm used to playing gigs where I'm in the corner and everybody's talking, so it's very quiet. So not that you should probably start talking, but anyways, I grew up in Iowa. I'm an Iowa girl, not from the farm, from a small town. And honestly, jazz in my corner of the world, it consisted of Beat It by Michael Jackson and Hey Jude by the Beatles. That's what we played in jazz band. And so I grew up really not knowing much about jazz. I knew what Jamie Aebersold's were, and they were these play-along tracks that were pre-recorded rhythm sections. So that was my band. I would set up shop in our basement. We have basements in Iowa. I would set up shop, and I would play with my Jamie Aebersolds and just rock out, but I had no idea what I was doing. And one day, my dad came home with a cassette tape. Anybody remember cassette tapes? Yeah, some of us. My dad came home with a cassette tape of Candy Dulfer. And she is an R&B saxophonist. Her dad owns a jazz club, so she grew up around jazz. And that was really one of the first, other than one of my private teachers, Miss Marla Feeney, that was the first female that I had seen record an album. And so I think it's really interesting that even now in 2023, there are students who say they don't know either a female musician or a musician that looks like them. And so I encourage everybody, because I hear this all the time, how can I get my female musicians to play jazz or to be willing to improvise? And all you have to do is show them someone that looks like them doing what they want to do. That's all you have to do. And once I started to find people that inspired me, and it wasn't just women, but once I started to really see more women and start to know this, I was so inspired. I remember one of my friends from home went to hear the Diva Big Band. Anybody ever heard of Diva? Yeah, so that's a New York big band. And I think they've been going at least 20 years, if not longer, probably longer. And they have several albums out. And actually, Alexa Tarantino, which we played a tune of hers a couple tunes back, she plays or has played with Diva. So I encourage all of you, if you're sitting in the audience and you're saying, I'm not sure I can do this, I guarantee you there's someone who you can find to look up to who had the same thoughts. So that's my little inspirational speech for the night. And one of my inspirations, I think this next female artist is so cool. Her name is Esperanza Spalding. Now, I'm sure we have some people who've heard of Esperanza, right? Yeah, okay, so she is an American bassist. She's a singer, she's a songwriter, she's a composer. She has so many accolades that it would take me a really long time to list all of them. But just to name a few, she's won 5 Grammys. She has won the Boston Music Award, the Soul Train Music Award, and she's received not 1, but 2 honorary doctorates from Berkeley, where she went to school, and Cal Arts. She is incredible. So I highly encourage you, if you can check her out on her social media and or go see her in concert. She is incredible. So this next tune is one of hers. So you get to hear a little bit from Mr. Rumbley on the bass. Y'all ready? Yeah. All right. So this tune is entitled, If That's True. funky now. I stole that from Mr. Bell. All right, so all of these tunes came from a book that was published last year through Berkeley Press, and it is 101 or 100 jazz standards written by female composers. And it was curated by Terry Lynn Carrington. Terry Lynn Carrington is a professor of music at Berklee College of Music, and she is a fantastic drummer, just amazing. And she worked tirelessly to get this book out into the public, and it's solely dedicated to the contributions of women. And as you can see, it spans the history of jazz. And so if you're interested, I highly recommend checking out that book just to learn more tunes by female musicians. So thank you so much for coming tonight and being willing to check out this music and being open to listening and learning. I think it's really important sometimes that we not just play but talk about what we're playing so that you all know where it comes from. Our last tune was written by singer, saxophonist, and songwriter, composer, and band leader, and super crazy dance move person, Miss Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly just kind of rocks her show. She is a fantastic player. She actually kind of got her start with Phil Woods. Phil Woods heard her play when she was in her teens and kind of, gave her a jump. And she now has 14 acclaimed albums. Her resume includes performing at the Hollywood Bowl as part of the house band for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. She's just really done everything. And she's done this all before reaching 30. It's pretty incredible. So please check out Grace Kelly. This next tune is we're gonna bring up to the bandstand our newest colleague here at the University of Texas at Tyler, Dr. Austin Seybert. Give it up for Dr. Seybert. And this tune, we're gonna take you back to New Orleans. This is Philosophical Flying Fish. This is our last tune, I know. Unless you want to call an audible.
I'm good.
All right, sweet. Here we go. It's what? Did I spell it wrong? Oh no, I spelled it wrong.
Well, that's the correct spelling.
I know, but it's really spelled in Grace Kelly's book with an F. Philosophical with an F. So I apologize. Wonder what I did in the program. What did I do in the program? A PH? Oh man! You know what? I bet it auto-corrected. I'm gonna blame it on that.
Yep.
All right. Philosophical Flying Fish. Austin, you wanna do the first solo? No.
I want to play first.
Oh, all right.
I'll play second solo.
All right.
You want to play first?
Okay. That's cool. And everybody's right on this one. Yeah. Everybody. All right.